But you know, when you say life-changing, are there
Yeah.
particular instances that you recall even now of, you know, lives that were changed or significant moments in all those?
Well, I'm thinking particularly, and I know this story has been told in, I think Donna Lidonia Wagner, then Donna McCluskey, told this story in the Betty Pesic book, but I was a key player in this. Happened not that year, but then the following year when I went back to El Bayad to be part of the team that, well, I was actually the one that was training the new team that was coming on board to replace us, and you all I know did that in other places, and Joe and Jim in Palapadua. And we had the consult set on the desert under a beautiful shamiana. I'm not sure what they called it that day, but it was a great big tent, and had to negotiate long and hard the week before to include women in the consult because it was a Muslim Christian community. It was a divided community, had some of each in it, but of course the women's role was to very much be in the background. We finally worked, and Bishop Samuels was the bishop there, who was very helpful, and he, of course, was assassinated along with Sadat after that. But we somehow worked with the village leaders, and they allowed for a certain number of women to participate in the consult, but they were to sit in the back row. And so every day when the plenary opened, Bishop Samuels would come in with full bishop regalia and come down and sit in the front row. And then would be all the men, and then would be the women in the back, all dressed in black and veiled and all. And so I was leading the contradictions plenary, and a windstorm blew up, and we were using, this was early technology, blackboards. You'd write the English words on one board and the Arabic on the other, you know, in translation, the way we did it in Korea and other places. And the wind came up behind the blackboards and began to blow those boards over. And so we took a break in the middle of the plenary, and so since I was in charge, I said, let's just move the blackboards up to the other end of the tent, because they were benches that everybody was sitting on. People could switch around, put their feet on the other side of the bench, and the back of the room became the front of the room. And then the wind was actually holding the blackboards up that were propped on these chairs. Well, the women turned around, and I'm sure it was because I was leading that plenary that they had the guts to do it. They just turned around in their seats. Bishop Samuel got up from what had been the front and became the back, and he came up with his, oh, you know, I think of him in his mitered hat and staff, but I'm sure it wasn't that dramatic, and sat in the front. And the women just sat there, and afterward they came up to me, and it was like the silent language of femalehood, and you know, just took my hand and these broad grins, and that was very special. That was a very special event for me.